Okay, so today we are going to resume from where we stopped last week. We are still going to be looking at the equations, and today we will be doing more caves. I heard someone saying he doesn't like caves. We'll be doing more caves today. We'll be doing more caves, and we'll be adding 57 down. Because what we did last week was quite basic and straightforward, because it doesn't include some aspect of government intervention. For instance, we have a basic demand supply curves or demand supply equations, which are quite straightforward to actually solve. But there are instances where government would intervene, either through taxes or through subsidies. So we will need to work it out. And then later, we also have to introduce whatever that we are doing, we are just using one commodity. So later today, we will increase it to two commodities and also see how the dynamics will play out. And then later, we will be doing the changes in demand and changes in supply simultaneously. I remember some time ago, someone asked a question on what will happen to price if supply changes and demand also change also. I can't remember. But today we'll be looking at the simultaneous change of movement or shift in demand and then supply. And we will end the class with elasticities. We'll end the class with elasticities. So today we are going to start from the introduction of taxes into the equation and see how that one will play out. So from last week's discussion, we mentioned we have demand equations and we have supply equations. Maybe if once we have, then we have this one. Okay. So today we are going to look at those online. We are on page 57. So we'll be solving that particular question. So we are going to look at a situation where we have demand, we have what? Supply. But in this particular case, we are saying that either the demand or the supply curve is also a function of some other, entity or some other variable. So we'll begin with taxes. So loosely, we mentioned that if we have this one as the demand function, just to illustrate, and we have this one, okay, let me use beta 1, 0 plus beta 1 price. So this one is supply function, and this one is what? Is demand function. In an ideal world, here should be what? Negative in an ideal world. Okay, let me just do it negative. So this is demand function, and this is supply function. Now, to be able to actually solve this one, which is finding the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity, we said at equilibrium, what should happen? At equilibrium, demand is equal to what? Supply. And both should result in a particular unique quantity, because when we are in equilibrium, irrespective of the supply curve or the demand curve, quantity is what? Is the same. Is that not it? So in that particular case, we have our demand here. We have our demand, which we will equate with what? With supply. So in this particular case, we will just have this one plus this one. Is that not it? It's equal to those online. I'll be illustrating it once again. This one. So you then solve it out by making price with the what? The subject. Here, the figures will definitely be given. So you make price the subject. The value that you will get will be the equilibrium price. And then to get equilibrium quantity, you either put the value of the price in the demand function or the supply what function. You don't need to put it in the demand function, or you don't need to put it in both the demand function or the supply function, because the answer is going to be the same. Okay. Now, today, what we are coming to do is we are going to assume that this particular equation is not straightforward. In other words, for this particular equation, government is interested in revenue, mobilizing domestic revenue, which is key. because we know at the moment we don't have access to international capital markets. So the government cannot go to the capital markets to borrow. So what the government is doing is to look inwards to raise revenue. And one way of doing that is to raise taxes, So we are going to assume that government is going to raise taxes on this particular good. Remember I said we are doing only one good for now. Later we will go to two goods. In this particular case, government is interested in raising taxes, and government is taxing, that particular goods that we are looking at. And remember, at first I said that whenever there is a tax, that particular tax will affect the supply through which particular variable. Among the factors of affecting supply, excellent, cost of production. So because this particular tax will affect what? The supply, will affect the supply through the cost of production, And what will happen if the tax is imposed? The tax will increase the cost of production. And once cost of production increases, supply will what? Supply will fall. Is that not it? Okay, so today we are going to introduce taxes. And remember, the tax is imposed on that particular good, which means that the amount that you are going to sell the good will be an embodiment of the what? Of the tax. Once you collect that particular money, you remove government tax to the government. So which means that the amount that you are charging as the price, includes the what? The taxes. Which means that to be able to actually know the exact amount that you will keep as a firm after sales will be the price that you will charge. Excellent. Minus the tax. But also notice that at equilibrium, quantity demanded or demand is equal to what? Supply, which will give us one single quantity. But you should also know that at equilibrium, the prices are what? Same. Is that not it? Because once you draw your demand and supply, here is the equilibrium quantity, which we said should be what? Same. At equilibrium, price is also what? The same. For both the demand and for both what? The supply. Are you getting it? Which means that if you have this as the supply function and you have this as the demand function, you could just equate the two to do what? To get the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. But in an exam or in a situation where it is not illustrated in this particular form, and I illustrated in by expressing price as a function of the rest. In other words, I can equally just write this as maybe say beta 1 plus beta 2, this one. And I can also say this one, alpha 1, alpha 2. Is that not it? Which means this is what? Excellent. This is quantity supply. Are you getting it? And this is what? Quantity demand. So even at equilibrium, to solve this, you just equate the price from the demand side equal to the price from the what? The supply side. So you will have this one plus this one quantity. Remember I said at equilibrium the quantities will be the same. So you don't need to bring D here and later confuse yourself. Or if you bring D here equal to what? This one plus this one, quantity supply. You may be confused because you have D here, this one. How are you going to work it out? So just remove this one, remove this one, because they are basically what? The same. So in this particular case, what will we be finding first? Quantity. quantity. But in the earlier one, if you equate the quantities, what will you be finding first? Excellent, price. Are you getting it? And you will get the same answer. You will get the same answer. So in this particular case, if we illustrate it like this, which means that this particular supply function that we are looking at, this one, is the price function, of course, but including what? The supply, okay? Which means that the amount that we are going to pay for this particular good, okay, or for the quantity of this particular good includes the what? The taxes, includes the taxes. Which means that if tax is imposed, remember that at first, we didn't have taxes. So in the absence of taxes, you will have P here. You also have what? Q here. Remember, this is demand. This is what? Supply. Are we together? So in this particular case, government is increasing supply and taxes. So remember, what will happen to supply? It will what? It will fall. Will the supply curve shift, or there will be a movement? It will shift. Excellent. Because this is a factor not related to what? The price. Good. So here, supply curve will shift to left or right. Excellent. So because supply will reduce, so it will shift to the left. So this is the new supply curve. Remember, this was where demand was, and this was where supply was. Demand is not moving. Is that not it? Demand is not shifting, so it is still here. But supply has what? Has shifted. Okay. So when you look at it, there is this equilibrium at the moment at this particular new what? At this particular price, unless price increase. Okay. So which means that there is a disequilibrium at this particular point. If I say P2, there's a disequilibrium at this particular point. So which means that government wouldn't, so if there is a disequilibrium, remember at this particular one, there is going to be excess what? Supply. Yes, yes. So here, I getting it against, where is it? Yes. So here, because it's above the old equilibrium what price. So there's this equilibrium. By government, yes. Yes. Why would I reduce? Okay, good, good. Supply will reduce, but the reduction is still going to be, the absolute value of the supply is still going to be more. Let's look at something here. This is our new what price? Is that not it? But this is the old. Where is the old one? This is the old one. Are we together? This is the old one, and this is the new what? One. But at this particular old price, demand is here. Assuming demand is not what? Moving. Assuming demand is not moving, which means demand is still looking at, we are still looking at what? This particular price. We are still looking at this particular price. And at this particular price, this is the quantity demanded, okay? And at this particular price, which is the new price, we are looking at the new price. At this new price, supply has what? Has fallen, okay? So this will be the quantity supply. Are we together? And here is the demand curve, is the demand. This is the value of what? Of the demand. Now, assuming there is no change in, this will be the last thing we'll be doing, changes in the simultaneous movement in this. But assuming there is no change in the demand curve or the quantities that you are going to demand, and there is a change in supply, what do you think will happen to the market? Assuming, let me just illustrate it more clearly. We are jumping the gun here, but let me illustrate it. This is the old price. Is that not it? This is the supply. Let me say S0. This is demand 1. taxes have been imposed, leading to shift in supply, leading to shift in supply. Where is it? Because of increase in cost of production. Good. Now, this is Q1. Let's say Q1 includes is the same quantity for demand and the same quantity for supply at equilibrium. Good. Now there is an increase in price because taxes have been imposed. Is that not it? Shifting the taxes have been imposed, shifting the supply curve. So to suppliers, they are no longer interested in being on which particular curve. The first supply, which is SO, but they will be on which particular supply curve? S what? 1. S1. S1. Now look at this. Any price above the equilibrium, what will happen? Any price above, yes, any price above the equilibrium price. Remember, we are looking either excess supply or excess demand, surplus or shortage. Good. So now look at this. This is the new price, okay? But remember, at that particular new price, as a result of the imposition of what? Of the taxes. As a result of the imposition of the taxes, it's leading to price being more than the what? The initial price. So, and remember earlier we mentioned that anything above the equilibrium price, market forces will push it down to the equilibrium price. Why will market forces push it down to the equilibrium price? Well, here, supply versus demand. Market forces will push it down if one of them is greater than the other. And market forces will push it up if one of them is what? Is greater than the other. So at which particular point will market forces push the price down? Is it when supply is more than demand, leading to excess supply? Are you getting it? Good. So at this particular place, there's going to be an excess what? There's going to be an excess supply because of that particular tax. Because what is going to happen? Producers will be what? Encouraged to do what? To produce more, because to them there is going to be higher prices. Later I will illustrate this because I know this will come somewhere in the exam. But let's do this. Let's do this. No, we'll give it more time. So it's different. We have 4 or 5 different curves to illustrate. Now let's make progress. Okay. So today we are going to look at the taxes. We are going to look at the taxes. Now, in the absence, those online, do you have any question? Okay. In the absence of any question, let's make progress. Now, when you look at this, this is the ideal situation without what? Without taxes. So here, it is just straightforward. You equate the two. Remember I said at equilibrium, price is equal to price, which means price from the supply side is the same as price from the demand side. At equilibrium, quantity demanded is also the same as the quantity supplied. Okay, so you can equate. But in a situation where there is an imposition of what? Of a tax, the tax will affect the price on which particular function? On the supply function, which means that the amount of money that you are going to price the commodity includes what? The taxes. Includes the taxes. Which means that once it includes the taxes, any collection in prices or any revenue, you should deduct government's tax component. So which means that the price that you will have, remember this is an ideal situation, equation 1, without anything on tax. Equation 2, without anything on what? on tax. But as soon as there is an imposition of tax, this price will change to include the taxes, which means that the price that you are going to charge includes the tax. So at the end of the day, you should remove government's what? Taxes. So the government will not be interested in destabilizing the market with the imposition of tax. The government will still want to, keep the market stable and at the same time withdrawing the domestic revenue through the imposition of what? Of the taxes. So we should be able to know at what, tax rates, or we should be able to know at what market price and quantity will the market still be what? Cleared, even in the presence of what? Of the taxes. So that is going to be the focus of this. So which means that the new price that we are looking at here will be this one, because this price includes what? Which means the price from the supply side is a function of all these ones, including what? The tax. I get it. So we have this one will now be equal to what? This one minus quantity supply. So here will be equation what? Equation 3. So this will be the new equation for what? The supply with the tax. This is the old equation for what? For supply without what? Without tax. Demand remains what? Unchanged. Demand remains unchanged, which means that to be able to find the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity after the imposition of taxes, you will no longer be equating this one to this one, but you will now be equating this one to the top one. Are we together? Okay, now let's look at this question. Where is it? There is also another question that was solved, but I want us to look at those that are not solved so that at least you will have different solutions. So let's look at the question that is projected. There is no solution for that, so let's try to solve it. It's getting interesting. We are being more practical. So this is the question. Shall I increase it? So let's look at it. The question is this. You have the question, so I may not wait for you to write all. Okay. Can we proceed? So the question is that the demand and supply functions of a good are given by P is equal to minus 4 QD plus 120. And the second equation is P is equal to 1 over 3 QS plus 29, where P, QD, and QS denote the price, quantity demanded, and quantity supplied respectively. A, calculate the equilibrium price and quantity. B, calculate the new equilibrium price and quantity after the imposition of a fixed tax rate of $13 per good. And now there is a question, who pays the tax? So there is a tax incidence there too. Now let's look at this. We have price, are we together? Is equal to minus 4QD plus 120. And the other one is price is equal to 1 over 3 QS plus 29. So the A part. So even with this one, you know clearly this is quantity demanded equation and this is quantity supplied. Remember, with this one, we can easily also turn it to quantity demanded being a function of the rest. I get it. Remember, we were used to the other equation. So with this one, it could be 4QD is equal to 120 minus what? Minus P. So which means that 4QD is equal to 30 minus 1 over 4P. Is that not it? I'm just dividing here by 4, here by 4, here by 4 to do away with this one. So you will get this. Isn't this the same thing as the other one? Are you getting it? Okay. Okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yes, then we are in trouble. Eh? The what? There is a question of maybe to come in the exam. Uh-huh. Excellent, that is it. So you can see him for further tutorial. Uh-huh. Okay, let's look at it. So here we are going to have what? We are going to have what? Okay, let's make this one the subject, though it's not part of today's discussion. Here, this represents our quantity demanded equation. This represents our quantity supply equation. I was just trying to illustrate that whatever that we were working with, which is quantity demand, alpha, what and what and what, it's the same thing as this one. It's just that we've rearranged the terms. So it's the same thing. So he's saying that this one over there, to make quantity supply the subject, will be what? Price minus, is that not? We can just keep this one and let this one go. So here will be 29. It's equal to 1 over 3 Q, Q, S. So multiply here by 3, is that not it? Multiply here by 3, multiply here by 3. So here will be 3, P minus this times 3 will be what? So times 3, 87. So this will be our quantity supplied equation. This will be our quantity supplied equation. Are you getting it? Is that not it? Okay. So are you clear now? Okay. Now let's make progress. So here, the first one is for us to find the equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. It doesn't matter which one you find first. So here, remember I said, instead of just equating quantity supply, quantity demand to quantity supply, you can also just equate what? The prices. So you don't need to make the subject like we have done. Don't waste your time. Because at equilibrium, they are the same. So here, at equilibrium, so this is equilibrium. At equilibrium, we have quantity demand being equal to what? Quantity supply, which will give you just that same quantity. But when you use this route, you have to do what? Make this one the subject and make this one to the what? The subject before you can equate it. Are you getting it? Which will be a long procedure. So at equilibrium, since you have prices here, because equilibrium prices are the same, so the price from the demand side is the same as the price from the supply side. Are we together? So in this particular piece, we have what is here? Minus 4 Q. So let me add later, I'll just cancel it. Plus what? 120. This is the first one. Is equal to 1 over 3 Q S plus 29. Now, and we know at equilibrium, quantity supplied and quantity demanded are the same. So you don't need to bring this one. You don't also need to bring this one. Are we together? Okay. So now, which variable is unknown here? It's Q, the quantity. We don't know quantity. So what do? We can make the quantity the subject. So now, let's just move this one to the other side so that here will be positive, leaving this one. So we will have 120. This one will also, so minus 29 is equal to 1 over 3 Q plus what? Plus 4Q. So this minus this will give us what? 91. Okay. So we have 91 is equal to 1 over 3Q. Is that not it? Plus 4Q. Maybe let's multiply both sides by what? By 3. To do away with this one. Okay, to do away with the fraction. So we multiply here by 3. We multiply here by 3. We multiply here by 3. So this times 3 will give us what? 12Q. So we will have 12Q. This one will cancel this. So we have Q is equal to, this one times 3 will give us what? 273. Okay. So this one, so we have 273 is equal to this plus this, 13Q. So we have 13Q. So divide here by 13, divide here by 13. So Q will be what? 21. So our quantity supplied, quantity demanded at equilibrium is what? Is 21, which means that this is demand, this is supply, which means that this particular quantity is what? It's 21. Are we together? Okay, good. So we have found quantity. Now let's look at the price side. So we can put this Q in either this one or this one. We'll get the same thing. Are you getting it? So which means let's put Q into maybe the demand function, which is the first one, So which means that our price will be what? Minus 4, excellent, 21, plus 120. This one will give us what? 84 plus what? 120. So 120 minus 84 will give us what? 36. Which means that our equivalent price is what? Is 36. And our equivalent quantity is 21. Price is what? Is 36. So this is how it is also illustrated diagrammatically. Are we together? Okay. Okay. So which means that the market is cleared only if price is what? 36 at this particular quantity. Now, the second part is saying that calculate the new equivalent price and quantity after the imposition of a fixed tax of $13. So the quantity, the price here is in dollars, so $36. So the new equivalent price and new equivalent quantity will take care of the what? Of the taxes. Have you finished writing? Yes. Okay. So which means that from the B part, we are still looking at demand here. We are still looking at what? Supply here. But after taxes, after the tax imposition, our new supply curve, because the tax will affect the supply, okay? Which means that our new supply curve, which is the P, will be minus what? Minus tax. Is equal to 1/3 QS plus 29. So this will be the new supply, which means that at equilibrium, this particular new supply should be equal to what? The demand. Should be equal to the demand. Are you getting it? So in this particular case, we are now going to have a new supply, which is, so we have the demand here, minus 4QD is equal to plus 120 is equal to the whole thing here. Are we together? It's equal to the whole thing here. Now let me, where's the that's not good. It's equal to the whole thing here. It's equal to the whole thing here. When you equate this whole thing here, plus 29, if we solve this, what will happen? Will we find the same quantity and price that we found? Why? Why? Excellent. We've not affected the taxes. When you equate it, we've not affected the what? The taxes. Because the new price that we are looking at here is no longer this one. It's now now minus T. Are we together? It's now minus T. Yes? But that is what we have the next one. Who pays the tax? It's not always the case. It's not always the case. There's what we call the tax incidence. Later we'll be looking at it. Okay. So because the new supply that we have includes the tax component. But in this particular case, we did not include the what? The tax. So we have to do what? To work it out. So in this particular case, if price is going to stand alone, what should happen here? Are you getting it? Plus what? Plus, excellent. Plus T. So which means our new, the price will now be 1 over 3 QS, plus 29, excellent, plus this one, plus this one, plus this one. Can we make progress? Okay. So here will now be this. Will you mind if I just remove the D? Okay. Plus where is it? 1 over 3 Q where is it? Plus 29 So it's here. Here. Any question from here? Any question? Okay, now let's proceed. We know we have this. So we have minus 4Q. Okay, let me send this one across. So I can have 120. Okay, good. What again? This will give us one over 3 Q plus so maybe let's multiply by 3. Is that not it? To do away with this fraction. So here times 3 plus what? That's 30. Good. So here will be plus 30 plus 30. Okay. So this is the quantity side. This is the quantity side. Now, when you look at the two, where is the investor? This is the one. Is it getting interesting? Okay, good. Now we have price minus T is equal to, we have this quantity supply price. Okay, now let's look at something. It's getting interesting here. Okay, now total revenue. Total revenue will be equal to what? Price times quantity. If we look at the case of the taxes, this particular one will represent the tax, what is the name? The tax rate times the quantity. Now, if nothing is sold, tax will be equal to 0. Is that not it? So here will be 0 if nothing is what? Is sold. So tax rate will be 0 if nothing is sold. Now let's look at this. Let me start this all over again. It's not, I missed something. Mm-hmm. No, the total revenue here, the total revenue is price times what? Quantity. Now the total tax government will take will be the tax rate all over the quantities. Since I missed some step, let me check here. Let me check here. Yeah, yes, it's coming. No, this one is not even the main one. The main one is there. The main one will have 3 equations. Let's write this down. Yes. Uh-huh. 13. Our tax rate is 13. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I missed the equation. Yes. So we have the tax rate given. Yes. So we have, where is it? The tax. We have the tax rate given. Good. We have the tax rate, thanks, yes. So we have the tax rate given. So tax is what? It's 13. That's good. That is why we always need to read the entire question. Plus what? This times this will give us what? 30 what? 39. Good. So here we have the tax rate here. So this will cross over. So we will have 27 minus what? 39, which will give us 13Q. Are we together? So in this particular case, this minus this will give us what? Yes, Muda, who is projecting? Because the tax rate was given, and remember here, we got 3 what? T, and we were told that T is equal to what? 13. So we substitute it here. Remember not to forget that. That is what I forgot, and I was given the tax rate function. So with this one minus this will give us what? 234 is equal to 13Q. So Q will be equal to what? Q is equal to, okay, good. So our quantity is what? 18. Our quantity is 18. So what will be the price? What will be the price? What will be the price? So what will be the price? You can decide to put the price in either equation, is that not it? Either the demand equation or the supply equation. So where do you want to put it? Where should we put it? Supply or demand? Okay, let's put it in the top one. This one, quantity is what? Quantity is 18 plus what? 120. Price will be this times this. Negative 72 plus 120. So price is now what? This one minus 72. Price is now 40. So price is now $48. Are you getting it? Now look at something. When you take so the new equivalent quantity is now what? 18. Remember, when tax is imposed, it will increase, it will reduce the what? The supply function. So which means the new quantity supplied is now what? 18, as you can see. And the new price that we found is now what? 48. So the new supply quantity, and the new supply quantity demand, which is the equivalent quantity, equivalent supply, will be equal to what? 18. And the new price is what? 48. Remember, if I say this is, where is it? If I say this is P1, this one, P1, and this is what? P2. Remember, the second part is asking us who pays the tax. Now let's look at something. Before the tax, price was what? 36. That is P1. And after the tax, consumers are now paying 48, which means that the change in price, the tax rate, let's just say the tax rate was what? 13 imposed. So the change in price is what? The new price, which is the P2, minus what? The old price. So we have 48 minus what? 36. So this minus this, what will you get? You get what? 12. But the tax rate was what? 13. Consumers are paying how much for the good now? They are paying 12 cedis more. Are you getting it? Consumers are now paying 12 cedis more. But the tax imposed was what? 13, which means that the producers or the firm, they pay how much? They pay 1, which means that they push 12 to the consumers and they bear $1. So in terms of tax incidence, the consumer pays more than the producers. Are we together? Okay. Now this is just basic function involving only one commodity. Today we are going to look at 2 commodities. Let's look at 2 commodities. Can I cancel? So you can see clearly the producer is pushing almost all the taxes to the consumer to pay, whilst paying only 1%. So this is how we illustrate it diagrammatically. This is the old equilibrium point, and this is the new equilibrium point. So if with this one, they can ask you, maybe the last one, illustrate your solution in A and B diagrammatically. So this is just what you will do. So you can see with the introduction of the taxes, what has happened? Price has increased. Quantity has decreased. Okay. Who pays the tax? Good. Now, before the tax, remember we sold for A. And when we sold for A, we got the equivalent price to be 36 cedis, which means consumers were paying 36 cedis for that particular good. Now, after the taxes, prices have increased to 48 cedis, 48, let's say cedis. So because it has increased to 48 cedis, the change in the price is what? Is 12. The change in price is what? Is 12. It has changed because of the introduction of 13 cedis tax, and they are paying 12. as an addition. So which means that the new price contains the component of the tax that they will bear. And the change in price will represent that component that consumer is bearing. So the difference of one will be what will be taken by the producer or the firm. Okay. Now let's make progress. There is going to be a situation where we will not have one particular product or commodity. Remember, we said initially, what's the time now? Okay, still have time. Initially, we mentioned that we have a lot of factors affecting demand, and we also have a lot of factors affecting what? Affecting supply. Affecting supply. Now, if we have, can those online, can you see my screen? The one that we are sharing. Okay. Okay, now let's make progress. We said that we can have a situation where we have only one good, like what we are doing, which means that that particular one good will have one demand curve or demand function, and it will also have one supply function or one supply curve. Okay. Now, in a situation where we have two commodities, which means that we will have demand for commodity one, demand for commodity two. We will also have supply for commodity one, and we also have supply for what? For commodity two. Okay. And we are going to introduce additional, variables. Remember, we said in terms of the factors affecting demand, we also look at what? Price of related goods, price of related goods. So I want to bring that here. And remember, price of related goods, we said we're referring to two goods, substitutes and complements. So today we are going to do that. Remember, we said that quantity demanded is a function of what? Price. Are you getting it? Price of what? Other related what? Goods. I want to keep this one here, but we have income and the rest. So I want to use this one. Here is a demand function being a function of the price of that particular good and the price of what? A related good. Now, remember I said we are looking at two goods here. This is the price itself. Maybe price of maybe car. And this is price of what? Maybe fuel or battery. So here we have demand for one particular product. Are you getting it? And we will also have demand for the what? The second product. And the demand for the second product will also be the demand, a function of each price and the price of what? The other related goods. Are we together? So let's say this is commodity one. So which means that the function demand will be a function of what? The price of that particular good plus the price of two, where commodity two is a related commodity. The price of a related commodity. Are we together? Which means that when you look at the price of that related commodity two, when you come here, we are going to have what? The price of that particular good. Are you together? Plus the price of what? That particular related commodity or good. So we are going to have this. And remember, here we will still have the supply for the first commodity being a function of price. Are we together? Plus the supply of the second commodity also being a price of what? Also being a function of what? Is also being a function of is what? Is owned what? Price. Are we getting it? Or we are confused? Should I click it again? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now let's say this is car. This is the demand for car. Is that not it? So let's say this one will be the what? Should I use fuel? Okay. And this will be the demand for what? For fuel. This will be the demand for fuel. The demand for car does not only depend on the price of car. This is price of car, but it also depends on how much fuel is. Are we together? And this we are looking at is the demand for what? For fuel. And the demand for fuel is not only a function of the price of what? Fuel. It also depends on price of car. Are we together? So this is it. When you look at the supply side, we are looking at, remember the one here is the car. We are looking at the price of what? Car. And the supply, remember the supply is what? So the price of what? Fuel. No, okay, maybe this one. No, it's the same. Illustration. Okay. So which means that in this particular case, if you want the market clearance price, it will still be at equilibrium. So in this particular case, at equilibrium, quantity demanded for good one should be equal to quantity supply for good one. And at the same time, quantity demanded for good two should be equal to quantity supply for good two. Then you work the two out. You work the two out. Are we together? Okay. Now, this is written in an implicit or compact form. Let's expand this one and see. Let's expand this one and see. Remember, we are looking at price of related what? Commodities. Now, let's expand this one. We have Q1 is equal to example. We have alpha 1 plus alpha 2 quantity 1 plus alpha 3 price 1 plus alpha 3 price what? 2. And here will be quantity demanded 2. Let's say beta 2. Let's say beta 2, just to make sure we do not lose this. Plus beta what? 1. Let me beta 1, beta 2. Here will be price of what? 1 plus beta 3. Price of what? 2. Remember, you may be expecting this to come, this to also come first. It's the same thing because we are looking at plus. But I just want it to do what? To follow. Are we together? Okay. Now, something like this. From equation 1, which is the demand, let's say this is equation 1. This is equation 2. So here, we are looking at only this particular one. Do we expect this one to be positive or negative? This one, positive, because there's no negative demand. Remember, first I said this will be the what? The autonomous, there's no negative demand, or the one that you will give the. So here, will always be what? Will get greater than 0. What about alpha 2? Okay. Any answer? Alpha 2 will be what? Will it be negative or positive? It will be negative. Remember, this is demand, and this is price. So, price, demand. There's an inverse relationship. So, alpha 2 is the what? The coefficient of price. So, we expect it to be what? To be negative. Are you getting it? What about alpha 3? The price of related good, will it be positive or it will be negative? Excellent. Depending on the nature of the good. Are we getting it? So which means that if alpha 3 is positive, which type of good is good 1 and good 2? If alpha 3 is positive, which means that an increase in the price of what? P2 will increase the demand for P1. Substitute, which means if it is this one, it means that particular good that we are looking at is substitute. And if alpha 3 is negative, it's less than 0, which means that an increase in the price will lead to a reduction in the what? In the quantity, which means the two goods are what? Are complements. The two goods are complements. Are you getting it? So exams, if you want to warm up, after writing this equation, then you can be asked what type of goods are good 1 and good 2. So you don't need to look anywhere. Just look at whether this one is what? Positive or negative. If it is positive, then if it is negative, it is what? Are we together? What type of good is, you don't need to solve anything. You just look at the sign, whether it's positive or what? Or negative. Are we together? Okay. So the same thing applies to Q what? D2. If I cancel this, and we look at Q2, where is it? This one. So this is Q D2. So here, beta 1, is it positive or negative? It should always be what? Positive. We are still looking at the demand. So here it's positive. Where is beta 2? Will it be negative or it will be positive? There is no supply here. When you write negative, you get 0. When you write positive 2, you get 0. Remember, we are looking at this good 1, good 2, and we are looking at what? Price. This price is not this demand. So this is a related goods price. So whether this one will be positive or negative depends on the type of good. We are not looking at this one. Are we together? Remember, we are looking at demand for good 2. So we should be focusing on the price for that particular good. And that price for that particular good is should be price what? 2. But we are still not here. We are still here. But remember, we are looking at price of related. How much will we demand for what? Good 2 if the price of other related good changes. So this is the price of what? A related, as you can see, P1. And this is Q1, D2. It's the same thing that we did here. This one, have you seen? And this one. So here is the related good. So whether this one will be positive or it will be negative, depends on the type of good. Are we together? So the same thing. If it is positive, it means it is what? It means it is substitute. And if it is what? Negative, it means it is what? Complement. Are we together? And now beta 3 will now be measuring the impact of the price of what? Itself, which is what? Beta 3. So beta 3, will we expect this one to be positive or to be negative? It will be negative. It's negative. Are you getting it? Because we are looking at an inverse relationship between what? Price and what? Demand. So this is its own price. So we expect this to be what? To be negative. We expect this to be negative. Okay. Any question before we proceed? Okay. So this is how you identify the price. Please note, you match price of itself to quantity. And if it's a demand function, it is always negative. But if it is quantity to price of other goods, then whether positive or negative, it will depend on what? Whether it is what? Substitute or complement. If it is positive, it is substitute. If it is negative, it is what? A complement. Okay, now let's move. So which means that here they will also have their, let me finish that equation. They will also have their associated what? Quantity supply equation. So let's say the quantity supply for good one will be maybe say maybe pi 0 minus. So let me put plus here. So here, do we expect this one to be plus or negative? Okay, do we expect pi here to be, it's supposed to be negative or it's supposed to be positive? Remember, we are looking at what? Supply. So this is the price of itself. So in this particular supply case, our price, the coefficient of the price should be what? Should be positive, because an increase in price, remember the price of related goods will not affect the supply side. We are only looking at the demand side. And then the quantity supply 2 will also be, maybe say, let me use 1 so that it will be consistent. No, here, 0. Here will be 2 plus, maybe say 3. Here will be what? Will it be 2 or 1? Remember, we are still, this is the supply for commodity 1. This is the supply for commodity what? 2. It is only in the demand functions that you will find the price of related goods, not in the supply. For supply side, we only have the what? The price of its what? Of itself there, which is always positive, which is always positive. Okay. Now let's look at this question. Muda, can we project? Those online, do you have any question? Okay. Now let's practice this. Let's look at a question that is not solved. Can I cancel? Can I cancel? I can cancel here. Okay, let's look at a question that is not solved. I should use the practice problem. Not this one, page 62. Page 62. So we are going to solve this one. We are going to solve this one. So let's solve this question. Let's solve here. Okay, the demand and supply functions. The demand and supply function. The demand and supply functions for two, have you seen, interdependent commodities, which means they are dependent on each other, are given by. So we have Q1, quantity demanded 1. So this is for commodity what? 1, and this is for commodity 2. This is the demand, supply for commodity 1, and this is the supply for commodity what? 2. And the question is, and they have given the various, definitions. Q1 quantity demanded is for the one, what is the name? These ones are quantity demanded function, quantity demanded function, quantity supply. So they are telling us to do what? To determine the equivalent price and quantity for these two commodity models. So are the goods substitutable or complementary? So now first we need to find the equivalent price and equivalent what? Quantity. Equivalent price. You have this book, the equivalent price and equivalent quantity. Okay. So we have QD Okay, QD1. 40 minus 5P1, minus P2, QD2, 50 minus 2P1, minus 4P. Good. So this is the quantity demanded for good 1. This is the quantity demanded for what? Good 2. Good. So let's look at the associated quantity supplied. So here is what? Minus 3 plus P1, is what? Minus 7 plus 3P2. That's good. So we are asked to find the quantity what? Demanded and quantity supplied. We are asked to find first the quantity demanded and quantity supplied. So in this particular case, we know for sure that at equilibrium, quantity demanded for good 1 should be equal to 4. Excellent. And quantity is equal to 2. Good. So let's look at it. So which means that we are going to equate this one to this one. Is that not it? So we will have, well, we are going to have 40 minus 5P1 minus what? P2. Is that not it? It's equal to 4P1. So in this particular case, let's say we have minus 5P1 minus what? P2. Let's bring this one. Is that not it? Let's carry this one. So which is what? Minus 4P1. Do we have another Macamuda? It's equal to minus 3. Is that not it? So this one will do what? Will also move. So we will have minus 40. So here we have P1 here. We have P1 here. So this minus 5 minus 4. We will have what? Minus 9P. Thank you. We have minus 9P1. Good. Minus what? P2. Is that not it? Which is equal to minus 43. Is that not it? Okay. So from here, we can move again. We can move again. So let's say equation what? 1. This is for the what? The first commodity. Is that not it? Now let's look at the second commodity. So for the second commodity, we are going to equate D2 to QD2 to what? QS2. So we will have, where is it? 50 minus 2P1 minus 4P2 which is equal to 7 plus 3P2. So solve this one. So let's group like terms. So we have minus what? It's 7 here. Is it negative? Oh, negative 7. Okay, so we have what? This 2P will still stand here. Is that not it? Minus this one is equal to minus 7. Is that not it? This one will cross minus. So here will be minus 2P. This will be what? It's equal to minus 57. Good. So here will be equation what? 2. So we have to solve this. So at equilibrium, they should clear. So this one is equation 2. This is equation 1. So we have, let me just write the whole thing again. So we have minus 9 P1 minus P2 is equal to minus 43. Yes. Okay, no problem. We can do that. Where's that? We can do that. Okay. So, okay, let me just leave this one. If we want to do away with the negatives, this one will be what? This one will cross. Is that not it? So we will have 9P1. Excellent. 43. So equation 1. And then here will be what? Good. 2P1 plus 7P2 is equal to 57. Good. So let's solve this one. Can I cancel this one? Not yet. Okay. So we have two approaches. I want to illustrate the two. Let me know when to cancel. So let's look at approach 1. So we need to solve this one. So let's look at the first approach. So to solve it, we have two approaches. The first one is to use this is to use simultaneous what? Equation. Simultaneous equation. So with this particular one, let's use the elimination method. So we have elimination method and what? Substitution method. Elimination is the cheapest. So let's eliminate one of them, either P1 or P2 in this particular, equation. So to eliminate, what do you think we should do? Which one should we eliminate first? Should we remove P1 first or P2 first in any of the equations? P2, okay, fine. So if you want to remove P2, what should we do? We multiply equation 1 by what? By 7. We multiply equation 1 by 7. Good. So we multiply this one by 7. We are eliminating this one. So we just pick the coefficient, multiply by this one, multiply by this one, multiply by what? By this one. Are we together? So here times 7, what will you get? 7 times 9. 63. So here will be what? 63 P what? 1 plus this one times 7 will be what? 7P2. This one times 7. 301. And then what should we do to equation 2? We multiply it by what? We multiply it by what? You multiply it by 1 because to eliminate one variable, the coefficients must be the same. To eliminate P, whatever variable that you will find here should be the same here. So if you are multiplying by 7, which means that there is 1 here, we will pick that 1, multiply by here, multiply here, multiply here. So we multiply here by 7, multiply here by what? By 1, which means that equation 2 will stay the same. Are we together? Okay. So equation 2, this one times 1, we will still have what? 2P1 is equal to 7. So maybe equation what? 3, equation 4. So this and this we want to eliminate. So what do we do if we want to remove this one? We subtract equation what? 4 from equation 3, which means that we are going to subtract equation 3 from equation 4 from equation what? 3. So it means this one minus this. Is that not it? So what will you get? 61 P1. This one minus this will be 0. So this will be eliminated. So this one minus this, what will we get? 2 244. So which means that our price one will be this one divided by this 244 divided by 61. What are we getting? Which means that the price for commodity one is what? Is 4. The price for commodity one is 4. So what will be the price for commodity two? So you either put the P1 into equation 1 or equation what? 2. Where should we put it? So let's say put P1, which is equal to 4, into equation what? 1. Okay, good. So by putting it into equation 1, where is it? Equation 1 is 9, P1. So will be what? Is that not it? Plus P2 is equal to 43, which means that P2 will be equal to 43 minus 36. So P2 will be what? P2 will be 7. P2 will be 7, which means that we have this one. We have been able to find, this is for commodity 1. We have been able to find the price for commodity 2, and we have also been able to find the price for commodity 1. Now let's look at the quantity. So now we have price and we have price. So where can we put the price to find the quantity? Where should we put it? You can put it in any of them. Is that not it? You can put it in any of them. So now let's put quantity price 2, price 1. If we put price 1 here, then we have what? Price 2. So which means that if we put the two prices into quantity demanded 1, we are going to have 40 5 P1, which is what? 4 minus what? Minus 7. So here will be 40 minus so which means that our quantity demanded for commodity 1 will be what? 13. So which means that, remember I said this is commodity 1. This is the demand. Is that not it? For 1, supply for 1. What we are finding here will be the 13. And what we are finding here will be what? Will be what? Excellent. Because we are looking at the price of that particular will be 4. Now we have this. We can do the same thing for commodity what? 2. So for commodity 2, let's say we have okay, let me use different curves so that later we can bring the two together. So for commodity 2, it will also be this is the quantity, and this will be the price. The price is what? 7. So let's look at the quantity. Let's put it in any and see. So let's put it here. Is that not it? So we have what? 50 minus 2 P1, and P1 is 4 minus 4 P2, and P2 is 7. So we are going to have 50 minus 8 minus what? So what will you have? So the quantity will be what? 14. Okay. So which means what we are finding here will be 14. Here is 7. Remember, this will be commodity what? 2. Price, and this will be the commodity. So this is it. Are we together? Any question? Remember this one, we haven't added tax. So if we add tax to maybe say commodity 2, Remember, we can make this one the subject and remove the what? The tax components from it. If we add tax to commodity one, we do the same. If we add tax to the two commodities, we do the same. Are we together? Okay. Any question? If we put the equation here, quantity supplied, here will be what? Minus 7, is that not it? Plus 3, 7. What will we get? Here will be minus 7 plus 21. Is that not it? So what will we get? You will get 14. You will get 4, which is the same as this one. If we also put this one, minus 3 plus 4 price what? 4. What will we get? Minus 3 plus 16, is that not it? So 16 minus 3, what will we get? 13, which is also the same as, I've cancelled it, but it's the same thing as this one. Okay, so let's make progress. Can I cancel? Then we'll look at the second approach. Remember I said we have 2 approaches. So let's look at the second approach. You see that it is straightforward. So there's also going to be an instance. There's also going to be an instance where we can have 3 commodities. So here I can introduce another one. So we say 3, and the rest. Are you getting it? Okay, yes. You will get the same thing. It's long, but you get the same thing. Okay, can someone give me equation? We wrote some equations here. I don't know whether it's equation 4 and 5 or which one. 3 and 4. It's what? 60 P1 plus 7 is equal to, and then this one I'm not, please, one person should talk. 2P1 plus 7P2 is equal to, before we had multiplied, even though we can still use this one, but before we remember we multiplied when we're eliminating. Before we had multiplied, we wrote some equation and said, let's multiply here by 7, here by 3. Is that equation that I want? This one is after we have chosen the approach. That is the, before we multiplied both sides. 9P1 plus here. So it is here that we got to before deciding to use substitution, a simultaneous equation. And the simultaneous equation is what? The elimination method that we use. We can also use substitution method to do that. Here we just make P the subject by bringing this one across and then putting it here. But we are not using that one. That is the substitution approach. Now with this one, the second approach you can use is to use the matrix approach. Okay, now let's make progress. Remember, this is an equation. This is also an equation. Here, by using the matrix approach, we are going to extract only the coefficients. We are going to extract only the what? The coefficients, or we are going to extract only the what? The figures. Here, the coefficient is what? 9, okay? So we will have 9 here. Here, the coefficient is what? 1. So we will have 1 here. Here the coefficient is 7. So we can have this. So this is 2 by 2 matrix. Here, what do we have? The prices. Is that not it? So we have P what? 1, P2 is equal to. Here, what do we have? 4, 3, 7. 7. Okay. Now, we can let this 2 by 2 matrix represent A. Is that not it? And we can let this one, we don't know P1, we don't know P2. So these ones are the unknowns. So let's represent it by what? By X is equal to, maybe let's represent this one by what? B. So with this one, it simply means that we have A, X is equal to what? B is equal to B. Is equal to B. Under normal circumstance, we have A. Let me cancel this one. We have A, X is equal to what? B. What don't we know? X. So under normal circumstance, we will do what? Divide here by what? A. This will cancel this. So we will have X is equal to what? B over A. But in matrix, there is nothing like what? Division. In matrix, division is an inverse. So in this particular case, we're going to have X is equal to A raised to the power minus 1. It means an inverse of this one. Because remember, this one that we are looking at is the same thing as X is equal to 1 over A dot what? B. Is that not it? And 1 over A is the same thing as this one, dot B, which is the same thing as A raised to the power minus 1, B. So here, A minus 1 is called inverse of A. Inverse of A, or inverse of matrix A. Okay. Here, where should I cancel? Okay, here, we have X here, A here, we have X here, which is unknown, we don't know it, and then we have B. So which means that A times X is equal to what? B. What don't we know? We don't know X. So if you don't know something and they are multiplying, what do you do to get it? You divide by what? A, divide by A. So this A will cancel this one. So which means X will be equal to what? B over what? A. B over A. But in matrix, we don't divide. We rather put the inverse. So the language in matrix is an inverse of something means divide this by something. Okay, so with this particular one, remember it is also, you can also write this one as 1 over what? A times B. The dot here means times B. So if you have something like this, and I said in matrix, there is nothing like division. If we have something like this, then in matrix, it means that A here raised to the power minus what? 1 times what? Times your B, which is the same thing as what? A times B. Times B. So this will be the solution for finding what? X. This will be the solution for finding X. That is the price for 1, price for what? For 2. Are we together? Okay. So now we need to know, do we know B? We know B, we have B here. We have A, which is here. What we don't have is the what? Is the X. And even here, what we don't have is the division. Because when you divide, you should get an answer. Or what we don't have is the inverse of what? A. The inverse of X or the prices is what? Inverse of A times what? B. Good. So X is inverse of A times what? times B. So now let's find what? Inverse. So find an inverse. So how do we find the inverse, the division? You don't pick this divided by this, divided by this. No. To be able to find the inverse, you need to find what is called the determinant. So first is find what is called the determinant. Find what is called the determinant, which means we are going to find the determinant of what? Of A. We are going to first find the determinant of A. We are going to find the determinant of A. And determinant of A is written as either this one. When I write this, it means determinant of A. Or I write this, that A. Or I write this as that A. That A. I write this as that A. That A. So that A is determinant of what? Of A. So and determinant of A is equal to, let's go back to this matrix A. Remember, this is our matrix A. Is that not it? This one is A. This one is what? B. Here is what? C. We can represent here by what? By D. Determinant of A is this particular one, which is what? A times what? D. So we have A times what? D. Minus this particular one, which is what? D times C. Okay. So the determinant of A will now be 1 over, this is the determinant. The inverse of A, where is the inverse? So this is the determinant. This is the determinant. Let me not jump the steps. This is the determinant. So the first is to find the what? Determinant. So this is the determinant. So now let's go back to the question. So which means the determinant of A, I was going to jump a step. Determinant of A is what? And A here is what? 9 times 7 minus B, which is what? Times So here will be what? This times this. 63 minus what? 2. You will get what? 61, which means our determinant of A is what? 61. So we know it. Now let's look at the second step. So the second step. So this is the first step. So the second step will involve, please note, the second step will involve, this is diagonal, is that not it? So diagonal variables or factors are what? 9 and what? 7. And off diagonal factors are 1 and 2. So this is diagonal, which is 9 and 7. Off diagonal is what? 1 and what? 1 and 2. So the second step, please follow. The second step is to do what? Swap. The second step is to swap. The values of the diagonal. So which means that instead of 7, 9 here, we will put what? We will put 7. Good. And instead of 7 here, we will put what? We will put 9. That is 1. So the second is to swap the value of this one. And then the other one is to do what? Is to change the sign. Is to change the sign of the diagonal. So please note. Here, where is it? Here is what? Positive 1. If you change the sign, it will be what? Negative 1. Here will be Here will be negative 2. Are we following? So please note. No, this is simple. You just, yes, what we are finding here is diagonal. So what do we do with the diagonal values? We swap them, which means that wherever that is here, we put it here. And wherever that is here, we'll put it here. 9 was here. So here will be what? Here, which is 7, will move. And this one will what? Will come. So we have 9 initially, it's now 7. 7 initially is now what? 9. So an off diagonal is to what? Change the sign of the off diagonal. So for off diagonal, we won't swap them. We will still leave them, but change the signs. If here was negative, here will be what? Positive. But here was what? Positive. Here will be what? Negative. Here was positive. Here will be what? Will be negative. We are almost there. Where is okay, now let's make progress. Let's make progress. So we are still looking for this one. That is the inverse of A multiplied by B will now give us what? Will now give us X. So the inverse of A is equal to 1 over the determinant, which is that what? A times what we found here, which is 7 minus 1 minus 2, 9. So this will be the inverse. But remember, we found what? Determinant. Is that not it? Remember, if I put the X here, it's equal to this one. Is that not it? Inverse is this one times B. And we know B is what? 4357. And we also know determinant. And determinant is what? 51. So which means that our X will be equal to 1 over what? 61. 7 minus 1 to 9. And then the B will be 4357. Good. So what we will do is to solve for this one before multiplying by 1 over what? 3 to find our X. So in this particular case, to solve for this one, let me just take it systematically. At the moment, let's forget this one exists. We are not canceling it because we want to solve this one. Now, to solve this one, let me open it up. We have here, is that what we have here? 7, please note. So it's going to be 7 times what? 43 plus, please note, minus 1 times 50 what? 7. Remember this. Remember here, I could also just put the minus here because here will take prominence. Are you following? Okay, so maybe let me just clean this one. You can see. Can I cancel here? Okay. Okay, so what do we have here? So here we have 1 over 61. 7 minus 1, 4357. Good. So what I'm saying is, and remember, it's X is equal to this one. What we will find here, we then multiply by this one. So I'm saying, let's assume this one is not there. Then we will deal with this one before. So in this particular case, we are going to have, X is equal to 1 over 61. Is that not it? This one times 43. Okay, so maybe let's say plus so that you will follow. This one, which is what? Minus 1 times what? 57. Here will be what? Minus 2 times plus, Okay, that's good, that's good. So we have, so let's do the multiplication, 1 over 61. So here will give us what? 301, plus negative 57. So it means 301 minus what? 57. I don't want to jump a step. We could have just written the number. And here will be what? Negative, plus what? 9 times 57. 513. Okay. So here, we are going to have x is equal to 1 over 61. Here will be what? 244. Here will be minus 86 plus So 427. Okay, no question. Okay, 427. So in this particular case, it's going to be this. So which means here will be what? 244 over what? 61, 427 over 61. What are we getting? Here is what? 4 here is 7. So which means remember we said here will be what? Price 1. Here will be what? Price 2. So which means you have this one. Remember X, we said X is price 1, price 2. So in this case, we have price 1 being equal to what? 4, price 2 being equal to what? 7. Isn't it the same thing as the other one? So this is the other approach, which is simpler than the other one. It's not easy. Yes. Yes. No, it's a rule. To find a determinant, yes, you multiply diagonal and subtract off diagonal. And then to proceed, you need to do what? To swap the diagonal and then change the sign of the diagonal. Okay. So we now know our price 1 and we know our price 2. Any question? Today, you people are not laughing. Why? Then I'll say using matrix. So, so this is the other approach. Okay, that the first is simpler. Okay, but this is masters, so we will use the second approach. Okay, now let's make progress. So later, yeah, I think it's time, but I want to just wrap up on something and we'll close. Yes. Remember, we haven't finished. We just finished solving only the what? Only the price side. Then we solve for the what? The quantity side by fixing the prices into the equation to know the quantity demanded for QD1 and the quantity demanded for QD2. Remember I said at equilibrium, they are all the same things as they are what? They are supply. So you don't need to do for the supply one. It's only when you are asked to show that at equilibrium, the price and the quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied that you will equate. Yes. You were out there, so I'm done. Where is the question? Muda, you are no more. Okay, let me open it. To drive the function. Yes, we can. I can do it that way, so you can drive it. We can put it in a story form, and you will drive it. I think he's interested in that. Okay, now let's make progress. The question is saying find the equilibrium price and quantity for this two commodity model. And the last bit, so we have found the equilibrium price for commodity one and commodity two. And I said for equilibrium quantity, you know, it's straightforward. Is that not it? So you just put it in the supply or the demand functions. Now, the second question is, are these goods substitutable or complementary? Which means, are the two commodities substitutes or complements? So is it, I don't have, I have the question here. Let me write the demand function. Can I cancel? Okay, let me cancel him. No, there's no solution for this one. No, there are solutions for others. These ones are, this one, and there is no solution for this one. What I'm saying is, for this particular one, in the book, there are solutions for similar examples. And, you know, after each chapter, they will provide questions without solutions. So this is one without solution, so that you can add this one to those with the solutions. So this question will come. Okay, now, are they substitutes or complements? Let's just pick one demand function. So let's say QD1, which is equal to 40 minus 5P1 minus P2. If you're just looking at QD1, remember, this is the demand curve, demand function for commodity one. So for price of related goods, you should be looking at the price of the other one. Which one will you be looking at? P2, we'll be looking at P2. So when you look at the relationship between this one as a function of all this, including P2, is the coefficient positive or negative? It's what? It's negative. It's negative. What does that mean? Which means that an increase in the price of the other good, which is P2, will do what? So will the coefficient be positive or negative? Is it true? He's saying that an increase in, if it is substitute, an increase in the price of one good will lead to an increase in the quantity of the other. And saying the coefficient will be, so will it be positive or negative? It will be positive, but in this particular case, the coefficient is what? Negative. It means that an increase in the price of P2 will what? Will decrease the demand for what? For the other what? Good. And in this particular case, is it complements or substitutes? Complements, which means the two goods that we have in question, which means good one and good two are what? Are complements. Are complements. Any question? Any question? But if here was positive, then it means that an increase in the price of P2 will lead to an increase in the demand for what? For P what? Demand for what? Commodity one. In this particular case, the coefficient will be positive. And if they are positive, it means the commodity will be what? For the substitute. But in this case, it is what? Negative. So here you don't need to solve question, but you just show that since the coefficient of this particular one is negative, an increase in the price will result in the reduction in the quantity demanded for the other, making the good what? Complementary. Any question? We have 10 minutes. Or we should close. Because this one is just to summarize. This one is just to summarize. This one is just to summarize. We are really lacking behind. No, I won't keep long here, just to summarize. Okay. So remember here, we can have 3 commodities. Our time has passed. Okay. I'm just going to summarize so that you can let me summarize so that you can go and do the other one. So I'll just use this to end, and maybe you can read on the rest. Let me just use this one to end. Now, what I'm going to do is, we have a situation where you can have changes in the demand and then changes in the supply. This will end the lecture, so that the other one I'll just forfeit, then you go and read on that. So if we have something like the change in demand and change in supply, in this particular case, the change in demand could be increase in demand, or it could also be what? Decrease in what? In demand. Increase in demand or decrease in what? Demand. Let's look at this. We have quantity, we have what? Price. Let's say this is the demand. This is the what? The supply. Now, let's look at first scenario. In a situation where demand change, where demand change with supply being what? Constant. Which means that in a situation where demand changes, supply remaining what? Constant. What will be the effect on the market? Now, we have here as the equilibrium what? Quantity. Here as the equilibrium what? Price. Now, the change, like I mentioned, could be change, increase or what? Decrease. Let's pick it one by one. Let's say an increase in demand with supply being what? Constant. So in this particular case, there is nothing wrong with supply, but all of a sudden, demand is what? Increasing. So demand will shift to where? The right. Good. So demand will shift to the right to form a new demand curve. In this particular case, we will move from this new old equilibrium to new equilibrium. So what will be the effect on the market? We have increase in what? Quantity and increase in what? Price. So which means that in a situation where supply is fixed and there's changes in demand, the effect, please note, the effect will be an increase in price, an increase in what? In quantity. That is one side for this one. And in a situation where supply remains what? Fixed. And demand, and demand decreases. So here we are looking at decrease in demand. So this is the supply, this is the quantity, this is the price. So demand will decrease by shifting to the left. So this here. So what will be the effect? Decrease in what? Price, and then what? And decrease in quantity. So decrease in price, and then decrease in what? In quantity. Are we together? Okay. Let's look at a situation. So this is for the demand side. This is for the demand side. So now let's look at a situation where we have supply changing, and then what is happening? Demand being what? Demand being constant. Demand being constant. Can I cancel? Okay, I see you are not writing, but you'll be hot later. Okay, so let's proceed. So the next one is for us to have. The next one is for us to have supply quantity here, price here. So we have demand, we have what? Supply. So in this particular situation, let's say supply is what? Increasing, and demand is what? Constant. So the old equilibrium is this one, the new equilibrium is this one. The new equilibrium and the old equilibrium quantity is this one. So let's assume that supply is what? Increasing. And if supply is increasing, the curve will shift to the right. Is that not it? So it will come here. So we have the new supply curve. So this will be the new equilibrium point, which is Q2. And what will be the new equilibrium price? P2. What is the effect on the market? What is the effect? Price will fall. Is that not it? And quantity will increase. So the effect will result in decrease in what? Price. Increase in what? In supply. Or quantity, yes. Are we together? Okay. Now let's look at a situation. Let's look at a situation where we have demand being constant and supply. A situation where supply is what? Is decreasing. So in this particular case, what will happen to the curve? It will shift to the left. So this is the new supply curve. This is the old quantity. This is the old price. So this will be the new quantity. Is that not it? And this will be the new price. So price will what? Increase. Quantity will decrease. So in this particular case, price will what? Price will increase, and then supply will what? Supply will decrease. Are we together? Okay. Now, a typical case of this involved maybe, let's say, if you pick the real market, what will be the effect on the market for housing? Okay, if cement prices increase. Remember, we are not looking at the market for cement. We are looking at the market of housing. But the effects on what is the name? The estate market or the housing market is contingent on whatever is happening in the cement market. So now, if prices of cement increase, price of cement would increase. Remember, there is nothing on what is the name? There is nothing on demand here, okay? But maybe there is a subsidy to cushion production. So there is going to be an increase in what? Production of what? Cement. Are you getting it? So if there is going to be an increase in production of cement as a result of maybe say subsidy, let's say subsidy to cement producers, Gasem and the rest. So if there is going to be an increase in what? Production, what will happen to supply? Which means government is encouraging them to produce more. Is that not it? Government is encouraging them to produce more. So in this particular case, what will happen? This is the demand, this is the supply. Supply will shift to the right. Excellent. Supply will shift to the right. So what will happen to the price of cement? The price of cement will fall. And what will happen to the quantity supply? Quantity supply will what? Will increase. That's good. This is which particular market is this? Cement. Is that not it? This is the market for cement. But remember that in the housing market, you need the cement to do what? To do what? To build. So in this particular case, this is the housing market. So in this particular case, there will be, remember cement prices are fallen. What will happen to the supply of houses? Supply of housing will what? Excellent. Supply of housing will increase. So this is what demand, this is supply. So what will happen to this particular curve? Will it move here or here? Excellent. Will move what? To the right. This is it. So what will happen to 1,000 units? They'll build more houses, and eventually what will happen to housing prices? Housing prices will fall. So everyone will have what? A house. So if government wants to do what? To increase home ownership, they can cushion, what is the name? Real estate, or what is the name? Cement manufacturers. So in the market of cement, this is going to be the dynamic. What is happening here? Price of cement will what? Will fall, leading to increase in what? Supply. And in the housing market, what will happen to the housing prices? Pricing will what? Will fall, and there will be what? More what? Supply of what? Supply of housing. We can also look at it in the labor market. We can also look at it in the goods market. So if I ask you to explain diagrammatically the impact on the housing market following subsidy, government subsidy to cement producers. So first, we are talking about what? The cement market. We are also talking about what? The housing market. So these are the interdependencies, how they relate. Government did not directly intervene in the housing market. Government can intervene through the production. The same thing applies to taxes. If government imposes taxes on cement production, what will happen to supply? Supply will reduce. Is that not it? And when supply reduces, what will happen to price? Prices will increase. Is that not it? And what will happen to demand for cement? Will they produce more or less? They will produce less. Is that not it? So in this particular case, supply will what? The supply of housing will, is that not it? Will decrease. So it will no longer be here. It will now be what? Here. And what will happen to prices of housing? It will increase. So people will now be homeless. I hope we are together. We won't be able to buy. So government need not to intervene. The same thing applies to the labor market as well. So in either case, you will use two of the four graphs that are illustrated. Changes in demand with supply constant, and changes in what? Supply with demand what? With demand constant. Any question? The last thing is the elasticity. So I will let you go and read on this. I will look, maybe tomorrow, next week, I will briefly talk about it, and then we change it different topic. I've skipped a lot on this particular one. So next week we will basically just talk about this under 5 minutes, and make progress with the new topic on the behavior of firms in the market. So next we will look at market structure, and then we are still not escaping from the diagrams and the mass. So we'll still be looking at it. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The speed, okay. Mm. Okay. That is one. Speed is one. Please, let's listen. Speed is one. Mm. Mm. Uh, no. Uh, 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 okay. So you want me to ask me list 3 important factors affecting I get you. Okay, no, your feedback is very well noted, and I'm very grateful for that. In what? Yes. Ah, okay. Uh, mm, yeah, I get you. Yes. Okay. Okay. I'm also just looking at how, no, it's well noted, which I'm very grateful for, yes. But I'm just looking at how I will be able to simplify quantity demand is equal to quantity supply. But I'll try and see, God willing. Okay, thank you very much. And so we'll meet next week.